Hi everyone, it's Samantha with Clawfoot Farm, and today I'm going to show you the hands down easiest bread recipe ever. So there's a lot of stigma around making bread. It's this seems to be a mysterious, bubbling, fermenting science project. But the truth is, bread has been around for centuries. It was one of the earliest and first foods ever created by humans. So what you need to make this bread recipe is flour, water, yeast, and salt. The flour that we are using is a half and half whole wheat and half unbleached all-purpose flour. You can use 100% whole wheat flour with this, or 100% all-purpose flour or bread flour with this. It all works in the same proportions. So we're also going to use a mixer today. If you don't have a stand mixer, you also can do this in a bowl with a bowl and a spoon. If you don't have a spoon, you can do this in a bowl with your hands. This is such a simple recipe. You really don't need any special equipment to make your own homemade bread. You do need a bowl. So I have my mixer bowl, and I'm going to just put in 6 cups of flour, 3 cups of whole wheat, and 3 cups of all-purpose flour in there. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of salt, and I'm using sea salt. And I have 1 tablespoon of yeast, and this is just regular rapid rise yeast that you get in the store. So regular yeast, not the fast acting or anything, just regular yeast. 1 tablespoon. And then to that, I'm going to add 3 cups of lukewarm water. And I really didn't measure the temperature. It's just not hot and it's not cold. So lukewarm water. Because I have 6 cups of flour, I'm going to put in 3 cups of water. If you want to do this in a smaller batch and you put in 4 cups of flour, you're going to put in 2 cups of water. If you're going to do a bigger batch, you would do, so I have 6, if you did 8 cups of flour, you would do 4 cups of water. So it kind of goes half as much water as you have flour. And you're just going to pour it right in there. You would do this the same if you're not using a mixer and you're just using a bowl. You would just put all of the ingredients in there together. I'm going to put it onto my mixer. And usually when you make bread in your mixer, you're using a dough hook. So for this recipe, we're going to be using the paddle. This recipe, the dough is going to be really, really wet, and it's okay to use this because we really do want to incorporate the water and the flour. So I'm just going to turn that on and let it mix up, and we are almost done. It is that simple. Okay, so now the flour and water and the yeast and the salt are all combined, and it looks like this, which it is pretty goopy. So we're just going to scrape it off of the paddle, just so you can save that dough. And then we're just going to cover this with a towel and let it sit out on the counter. You want it to sit at least for 2 hours. But the best way to do this is to make it in the evening and let it set out overnight. And it can sit out anywhere from 2 to 24 hours, and it is still perfectly fine. So I have my towel, and I'm going to cover it so that nothing we don't want in there gets in there. And I'm just going to leave it here on the counter for a few hours, and then I will show you what it looks like, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so it's been about an hour and a half, and I want to show you what our dough looks like. So the yeast is rising, and there's lots of little holes in there, but it is not ready to put into a bread yet. And we will show you what that looks like. So while it's puffy and rising up, it's working. It's the yeast is alive and proofing, I guess is what you'd call it, but it's not quite ready to bake yet. So we'll be back in another probably hour and a half, and I'll show you what it looks like then. Okay, so it is the next day because I just got busy yesterday and didn't get to this. But that is one of the fantastic things about making bread with this recipe. So you don't have to be constrained to just making it all at once and being in your home and being on time or on a timer for the whole day. So we made this dough yesterday and I let it rise, and then I got busy. So now it's the next day and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is, the dough has risen, and you can see how where it rose up to the top here. And then it has also fallen, and so you can see that it's also fallen back down. So as the dough rose and then fell, and that's what you want to see. Now it's ready to go into the pot to bake. So this dough now, oh, and if you're actually, if you're still busy and couldn't bake the next day, what I would do is put this dough into a airtight container, a container with a lid, or you could even put some plastic wrap over the top of this and put it in the fridge, where it would last for 3 to 4 days in the fridge before you really have to bake it. So also, this is a lot of dough. If you wanted to bake 1 loaf of bread today and 1 loaf of bread in 2 days and then another loaf of bread in 4 days, you could use part of this and make smaller loaves of bread each time. Today we're going to make 1 big loaf of bread because my family eats a lot of bread. So you can use this dough to shape breads. You can use a regular bread pan. Today we're going to use a Dutch oven because it's the super easiest way. So I have a Dutch oven with a lid, and make sure that it's all oven proof. You are going to be putting it in the oven. And I'm going to just put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom and smooth that around. I don't use the spray, but if you use the spray kind, you can spray it. If you have the spray pump kind, you can spray the olive oil in there too. And then I'm just going to basically pour this into the pan. We're not going to knead it or smudge it in any way. I am going to need to break it off at the side here though. And it is still a really sticky dough, so it's really not a dough that you're going to want to shape a whole lot. It's helpful when you put it into the Dutch oven that the pan actually holds the bread. I also do this recipe in bread pans, the loaf pans, and the loaf pan holds its shape. We have the dough and it's in the Dutch oven, and now I'm just gonna put the lid on it, and I'm gonna put it in a 400-degree oven for 20 minutes, and then I'm gonna remove the lid, keep it in the oven for another 20 minutes, and then we're gonna take it out and eat it. And that's how simple it is. Now we're gonna let it cool, and then I'll slice it and show you the good stuff inside. So I couldn't keep everyone out of the bread, and they've eaten about half of this already. But there's the inside of the bread. We have some really nice air pockets in there, and it's nice and soft, but the crust is still nice and crisp. And so I'm gonna cut it. I'm left-handed, so I have to do this backwards. And there we go. Beautiful slice of homemade bread. And this is such an easy recipe. Anyone can do it. I really encourage you to try to make your own bread today and tell me about it. I would love to hear your stories as well. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.